Conversations, welcome to Conversations, the monthly MTA podcast interviews. My name is Alex Spiroglou. Today is the 26th of February 2015. We are in London with my good friend Steve Ward. Hi Steve.
Good to see you again.
Steve will be presenting to the UK chapter. It's the second time we have him as a speaker here, but I've watched him many times in the past. He always has interesting material to give out to the public and to the professionals of the trading industry. Steve's topic today will be on mindfulness, but it's best if we let Steve talk about it himself. Steve, first question. Would it be possible to, of course, begin with a brief introduction of you? Tell us about your background and your work on High Performance Global.
Okay, yeah, sure. So my psychology background was in sports psychology. So I spent quite a few years working with athletes and teams, 33 different sports all over the globe, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Randomly in 2005, I got asked to come and work with some traders in London. They were looking at trying to get a bit more of an edge in the markets, improve the performance. They were quite curious about the use of psychology. So I was kind of, I guess, a bit of a guinea pig, as were they, and it went really well. And really, cut a long story short, since 2006, I did the Winter Olympics and some Rugby League World Cup stuff, and then really from then it's been trading and investing only from 2006 onwards. So work with banks, funds, prop trading groups, energy companies, graduate traders, right through to really experienced markets guys, all focused around performance and psychology. So that's my kind of, I guess, my niche area, my interest. And yeah, I mean, it's great fun to work with great people. Thoroughly enjoy it. So
great. Today's topic will be on mindfulness.
Yes.
Would it be possible to give us a brief introduction on what it is and what is important?
Yeah, sure. So mindfulness, I guess, really in its simple terms, is about noticing what's happening while it's happening. So it's having an awareness and paying attention to our experience, both internal thoughts and feelings and impulses and urges, and also externally what's going on around us. And I mean, it's not a new thing. It's been around, for thousands of years. But it's popular now mainly because it's secular, so it's kind of they're removing sort of the Buddhist element from it, and there's been a lot of neuroscience research underneath it around kind of what the mechanisms are, what's going on in the brain. So it's a bit more tangible. And I came across it about 4 or 5 years ago, mainly through reading lots of neuroscience research, and the word kept cropping up at the end of papers and so on. So I did a bit of research into it, did some courses, did some training, qualified as a teacher, and I think what I like about it is actually it's practical. And I think what traders, or what I found in my work, is traders want practical things they can do. There's lots of knowledge and theory around behavioural finance and psychology and so on, but mindfulness is a very practical approach, underpinned by neuroscience. So it's easy if people want to do it. It's easy to learn. It's a skill. If you practice it, you get better at it. And the benefits of doing it are, for any people in the population, are great. But they have real particular benefits for traders because of the areas of the brain that we're kind of hitting when we're doing our mindfulness practice.
Speaking of the benefits, what are the exact benefits that someone can have pre and post a mindfulness, say, training series of exercises?
Yeah. So I mean, typically, a lot of the studies that have been done are done over an 8-week period. So you do some pre-study data collection, do an 8-week program of mindfulness, and then you then get some obviously post-study data. And the benefits they're finding for people are multiple. There's benefits around ability to sustain our attention, how long we can focus for, also noticing when we're distracted, being able to recover our attention more quickly. There are benefits around emotional regulation, fear modulation, connecting mind and body, so we're kind of more in tune with our intuition and our gut feel, improved self-control, willpower, immune system function. So I mean, at all different levels, there's a multitude of potential benefits. I mean, in trading terms, I think the most important one that I try and put over is a lot of our behaviour, obviously, is very habitual. And some of that is obviously very good, and some of it is not so useful. And in trading, as people know, often we get these impulses that maybe in the normal world might be useful, but when we're in the markets, often our impulses might not be as useful. So we need to be able to have a bit more choice and flexibility about behaviour. But to get that choice and flexibility, we need to have some awareness. So typically we have a stimulus and then we react to the stimulus, so it's kind of very automatic. But a lot of those, maybe we're cutting our losses, are cutting our profits, get out too early, or we're staying in the trade too long, or we're seeing a good setup, we don't get in. And it's kind of very quick and automatic. But what we need to be able to do is, and this is what mindfulness, the mechanism behind it is, it's having the stimulus, but then having a pause, and then in that pause, and it's only microseconds, but in that pause, it's having that choice of behaviour between going with the instinct or the impulse, or doing something different. Yeah, and so, but if we haven't got that pause in there, then we can only go with the initial conditioned response. So I think what it does, if we look at trading discipline, it strengthens our discipline by allowing us to, at an attention and awareness level, to create that pause, so we're not kind of blindly reacting, but we get a bit more choice and flexibility in our behaviour. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the key mechanism, because sometimes we want to go with our automatic reaction, but not always. So it's just having that bit of choice.
You mentioned that it's mindfulness is something that someone can improve on it mm-hmm. with exercise.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example? What kind of an exercise someone can do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the analogy I would use is the body can be flabby or the body can be ripped. And the brain's the same. We can have a flabby brain, a not so well-tuned brain, or we can kind of train it, go to the gym as such, and do some fitness work on the brain and get kind of a ripped, a muscular brain. And when you do mindfulness training, what we know is you'll get two benefits. One, you'll get a functional change, the way the brain works, and you also get structural change. So actually you'll get more grey matter, particularly around the prefrontal cortex behind the forehead. So I guess the simplest practices all involve just paying attention to something. So in the session tonight, we're gonna do a variety of exercises, but I guess the most common one is we might focus on our breathing, and we pay full attention to the breath, and then what we are trying to do is really keep our attention on the breath for as long as we can, and then what we'll notice is often quite quickly that our mind will get distracted, and it could be an external sound or it could be an internal thought or something, but we'll get a distraction, and then we recognise we've been distracted, and then we bring our attention back to our breathing until we're distracted again. We recognise we're distracted, and then we're bringing it back again, and each time we're kind of holding our attention on the breath, kind of being curious, really noticing what's going on. It could be the rhythm or the speed or the depth or the location. Whenever we're doing that, it's like we're kind of doing a repetition. Every time we notice that we've been distracted, that's like a repetition. And when we bring it back, that's a repetition. So through those three processes, we're kind of keeping it here, recognizing we're distracted and then bringing it back. Each of those three things is like a part of the workout. And then the more time we spend doing that, the more muscle, essentially mental muscle, we end up building. So the practices are all relatively simple. The challenge in mindfulness is not the exercises themselves, it's just finding the time and being consistent with the practice. Just like going to the gym. We all know if you go to the gym and you do your bicep curls, you get bigger biceps. It's pretty straightforward. If we do our mindfulness practice, you're going to get the changes, but only if
you're
doing the practice. Exactly, a mind gym. Exactly that.
Okay, next question is, you recently wrote a book. It's your second one, Trader Mind.
Yeah. Which
of course you were kind enough to send me one for review. So we'll be probably doing another Skype interview, a live one for that one. Can I ask, what is it about? I mean, I had a look, and it looks very interesting. But of course, it would be much better if he heard it from you.
Yeah.
What is it, the book about?
Yeah.
And also, how does it differ from the existing literature on trading psychology?
Okay. So, Trader Mind really evolved out of my interest in mindfulness and the neuroscience of mindfulness, and how neuroscience and mindfulness can both kind of impact trading behaviour. And the first book I wrote was 2009, High performance trading was kind of like 35 chapters, a very broad look at different areas of trading psychology. This one's kind of a bit more of an in-depth focus on a particular area or particular approach. It covers lots of different areas in there around thoughts, emotions, stress, behaviour, habits, impulses, urges. So it covers some similar themes, but with a much more of a specific type approach. And it evolved from, I've been doing mindfulness probably now for about 4 years, maybe 4.5 years, and I've been introducing it more and more into my courses and with coaching clients. And often they'll say to me, is there a book you can recommend? Where can I go and read more? And obviously there are some really good general mindfulness books, but there was nothing really that put it in maybe ways that I thought traders would easily identify with. So I thought, well, I keep getting asked, is there a book? So I thought, well, there isn't. So I wrote one. So really, it's about how traders can utilise mindfulness, both informally in sort of very small, quick, simple ways, as well as more formal practice into their trading, in ways that will benefit them around mindset, around how they manage their emotions, deal with fear, impulses, urges. So it's a practical user's guide to mindfulness from a trading perspective.
If you could call, pick up the phone and give a call to 25-year-old Steve, what would you advise him on markets?
On markets, I don't know if the 45-year-old Steve would have any more wisdom than the 25-year-old had. Obviously I follow markets, but I haven't really got any special advice or guidance. I guess what I notice from the coaching side at the moment is there's lots of uncertainty in the market.
Let me rephrase that question then. Okay, please repeat after me and fill out the blanks. Mindfulness is very important because...
Okay. Because it allows you to have more choice over your behaviour.
Choice over your behaviour, your reactions.
Yeah, it gives you more flexibility. So I always use the analogy of a quarterback in the NFL where you've got a play, and then you take the snap, and then let's say maybe the play is to throw to the wide receiver on the right, and if you're rigid, that's what you do. But that might not be the best action because that guy might now be double teamed, double marked, which means if he's double marked, somebody else is unmarked. And if you're flexible in your behaviour, what you can do is you have so there's two things. There's situational awareness, noticing what's going on externally.
Court sense.
Yeah, court sense. Yeah, exactly that. And then there's the ability then to actually once you notice that the situation has changed, to then choose, so to be responsive to the situation and flex your behaviour to get a better outcome. And I think mindfulness allows that mechanism of being more situationally aware externally and giving us the flexibility internally to be able to choose different actions. And I think in essence that's really what traders need, is to be able to look and see what the markets are doing moment to moment, noticing the changes and the shifts in the market dynamics, being aware of obviously their positions within those markets, and then being able to flex where appropriate their behaviour and not be too rigid. So it's kind of having the plan, but also being willing to flex the plan where appropriate. Knowing when to stick to the plan and when not to. And I think mindfulness, that's what it allows us. I think mindfulness also allows you to have a better quality of life because you start to notice more. We're so automated in life and in trading. A lot of stuff is just it's almost outside of our conscious radar. And when you become a bit more mindful and you pay attention to things a bit more, you get probably a higher number of kind of quality experiences. So like for me, playing with the kids becomes very different when I'm mindfully doing it and I'm really paying attention to the experience, rather than when I'm doing it but I'm thinking about the next workshop in my head, or I'm thinking about what shopping I've got to do.
Going through the motion.
Yeah. So I think we can use it to make sure that where it's relevant for us, we can really raise the intensity of our experiences. And if we want to relax, we can be really relaxed and really get into it. And we can't be mindful all the time.
Yeah, of course.
But I think knowing where we want to be and having the skill, having the choice of being able to be, I think is really useful for people.
Last question. Hobbies. What does Steve do to relax outside of market hours?
Okay, that's a good question. So I really enjoy cycling. So So I do quite a lot of cycling. I like to get to the gym every now and again, probably once a week. Also the last 2 or 3 years, done lots of stand-up paddleboarding. So I love being down on the ocean, either paddleboarding or sailing or whatever I can do, kayaking, but being outdoors. Anything I can do to be outdoors is what I try and do. Outdoors and something active, and that keeps me pretty happy.
The beautiful English countryside.
Yeah, you know, we've got some great coast in the UK, so, you know, getting down the coast, and we've got a camper van, so, you know, we pack the family in and get in the camper van and go down the coast, pack the bikes and the paddle boards and the kayaks on top, and just go out, spend 2 or 3 days just being active and trying to slow down a little bit, you know, because it's also, as you know, it's pretty hectic when you're in the city and stuff. So
right there. Steve, thank you very much
for this
chat and the presentation as well.
You're welcome.
And this concludes our today's podcast with our good friend Steve Ward. We will be following up with the presentation itself. The presentation and the interview itself have been videoed, are available in the MTA UK chapter archives, and we certainly hope you will have the chance to enjoy it. Thank you very much.